Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I'm going to be talking about the Monster Squad 1987. So, the Monster Squad 1987 is a very classic 80s kind of romp adventure film, and it's really unusual. I just watched it last night, and before I watched it, I did not know this movie existed, which is kind of strange, because especially when I start talking about it, because it seemed to be a pretty big movie at the time, right? And the structure of the film is really unusual. There's not a lot of films like Monster Squad 1987. So let's talk about it a little bit. It's really fascinating. So one of the things I think is really interesting is I'm a true believer in technology. I believe that really technology can be incredibly dangerous, and it can put incredible problems in front of us for periods of time. But overall, I really feel that if you're paying attention, technology really it makes education easier. It makes getting good sound medical solutions to people easier. And as people are more healthy and living longer, we're able to just do more, right? So right now, it's kind of a little bit of a side note, but I really feel like a lot of people think the world is worse than ever, and in reality is literally it's better than ever. Like, people are living longer, way more people than ever before are educated at higher levels. Intelligence is actually going up, and so technology is a really important thing. And one of the things in this film is you are seeing the 80s technology being used to make a film that is really unique. And so I'm sorry, why was I talking about technology? Sorry there, got a little sidetracked. The reason I was talking about technology is this was served up as a recommendation for me on Hulu. So I finished watching one movie, and they said, hey, you watched through this whole thing. You clearly, at least you tolerated it all the way through. You didn't quit in the middle. And we've seen, your other movie selections. You would really like Monster Squad. And so it's right there, and I was like, that looks interesting. What is this, right? So I just clicked on it, and it launched, and I was like, oh my gosh, holy cows, And they were dead on right. I absolutely love this movie. By the way, 4 out of 5 star movie. And there are major spoilers for the movie Monster Squad in this content. Okay, so what is the story of the Monster Squad? Well, the story of the Monster Squad is a group of junior high boys who fight the Universal Monsters. And I'm talking the core 5 Universal Monsters: Dracula, Frankenstein, the Mummy, Creature from the Black Lagoon, and the werewolf. They're all in here, and they all completely 100% comply with their traditional rules. Like Dracula can't be seen in a mirror, and the werewolf can only be killed with silver bullets, and so forth and so forth. And it's really pretty amazing. Now, and the other thing is, I think I was very excited this year about seeing The Mummy, right? Tom Cruise's launch of the Universal's Dark Universe, which is a relaunch of the Universal Monsters. Well, I didn't really know. I thought that the Universal Monsters was the 1940s monsters, but that's not completely accurate. The Universal monster movies, there's well over a dozen of them, quite a few actually, and they went from the 1920s all the way up to the 1950s, and they really are a very powerful thing. They're a really distinct set of monsters. And so the Universal Monsters is these sets of monsters, and the 5 that I just mentioned, they are the real core monsters of they're the real core monsters of that monster group. There's a few other minor monsters on the sides that are less impressive. Phantom of the Opera, he's literally in there. He's part of the Universal Monsters, but nobody ever talks about that. So basically, essentially, Dracula is shipped over to the United States of America, and when he's shipped over to the United States of America, he starts gathering his group. So he gathers the werewolf, and then he gathers the mummy. He gets him from like a museum installation that's in America. And the mummy is why Dracula comes to America, right? And I think he has the werewolf brought to him, right? Then they go to this lake. Dracula, the mummy, and the werewolf go to this lake, and there's this scene which I thought was really impressive, where the creature from the Black Lagoon lifts Frankenstein out of the swamp in this crate, and Frankenstein is dead, and he's just in a crate. Dracula pulls out his cane, gets these these electrical tip, like literally the ears of the wolf are used as like electrical prods, and there's wires in this cane, and then he extends the other side of the cane, and he makes an electrical lightning rod and charges up Frankenstein right there, which you're like, what? Like it was really out there. So, but it was really cool. Like I one of the things that's really neat about Monster Squad is it really is, there's nothing like it. There's no movie where you really see the classic Universal monsters together and functioning as a team, right? And honestly, because Mummy 2017 was so bad, that there's a really good chance you'll never see that again, right? Unless they would redo Monster Squad. But they're never, that's the other thing, is Monster Squad will absolutely never be remade. I really like Monster Squad. I think it would be awesome to remake Monster Squad. But the thing is, time keeps moving, right? And one of the things that's happened is everybody wants these cinematic universes now because they're incredibly profitable. And so, so there's no way, this movie is a once and done, right? Like the story is self-contained, and you could certainly do a sequel to it. You'd have to do a little bit of work and put all the pieces back into place, and maybe change the pieces up. But it's, you could do it, right? And so it's really very, very interesting. And so you would never see the Monster Squad replayed or remade, in my opinion, because they want 3 movies. They want there to be able to be a trilogy for the werewolf and a trilogy for the for Frankenstein. By the way, I'm aware Frankenstein is Frankenstein's monster and the whole nine, blah blah blah, right? So I'm referring to Frankenstein's monster as Frankenstein, which I don't think it's pedantic to really get into that. So. Actually, I am kind of a pedantic guy, but I'm going to give a pass on this one. All right, so it was really this movie was really out there, and so you'll never see Monster Squad again because in the 80s you could just do this. You could absolutely just have a movie like this because movie studios didn't have dollar signs in their eyes saying this has to be made into a cinematic universe. Excuse me. So yeah, it's really fascinating. It really is it was an excellent film. I really, really, really dug it from start to finish. The structure of the movie is that Dracula comes to America with his whole crew. There's this one savvy, and the boys club, the Monster Squad. They leaned hard on the tropes in this movie. There's the cool kid. There's the heavyset kid. There is the rebellious kid. There is the nerdy kid, and that's it. That's the whole team, right? That's all you got, right? But the kids are really good, and essentially they have to stop. And Dracula has this amulet, which if you use it at a particular time. Once every 100 years, it can open up this abyss that sucks all the monsters back into the abyss, right? And then they don't plague anybody for 100 years, right? Which was, it's a very 80s plot, but it was good, and I really, really enjoyed this movie. Who is this movie for? Well, okay, I would encourage anybody to watch this movie if you like light horror movies, and if you're interested in Universal's Dark Universe. And if you like 80s movies, this movie is really Goonies meets Universal's Dark Universe. That's exactly what this is, right? And it is really, really unique. Now, I want to talk about something. I want to talk about why I never watched this movie, right? So one, this Monster Squad has not captured the zeitgeist anywhere. Like, nobody's talking about this movie, right? Certainly not the way people talk about a lot of classic 80s films. Not like Revenge of the Nerds, which I never saw that, but Goonies. I actually never saw Goonies. And one of the reasons for the Goonies one is that's actually a hard movie to watch. I've like, it doesn't stream anywhere. I think it used to be on Netflix, and I was foolish and didn't watch it when I could. But you cannot see Goonies anywhere legally easily. So that is and I think there's a reason for that. I think that Goonies is set for a relaunch, and that thing is being bounced around Hollywood a lot right now. And I do think that's going to be that could easily be $1 billion, $2 billion property over, a number of years. And it could be a major, major relaunch. So I think that's one of the reasons why it's hard to see. Goonies, Ghostbusters, all these classic 80s films. Why isn't Monster Squad a beloved film within that? Well, this is a 4 out of 5 star movie for me. I absolutely love this movie, but it is uneven. There's some very strange things in it. So I'll talk about some of the strange things. So Dracula, the monsters themselves are good, but they're not great. Like, you could have definitely done a better job on every single one of them. And they really do look like people in masks, right? Now, it's the 80s, they didn't have the kind of special effects that we have now. But even the way they're shot, the way they're lit, this movie's like, we got a story to tell. Get on with it, right? Which I love that. I love that aspect of it. But, the monsters were not perfect. And one of the things that's there are parts where the imperfections are quite funny. Dracula comes to take this amulet from the kids, to take Von Helsing's diary from the kids, right? And so he gets there and he's like, okay, that's it. I'm going to take care of you guys. So how does Dracula take care of a bunch of kids, right? Turn into a bat, bite them on the neck, turn into a wolf, savage them with their claws. What are you going to have, right? You're going to have a whole bunch of stuff, right? Well, he grabs dynamite out of the trunk of his car and is chucking dynamite left and right, like blowing up cop cars and, blow up half a house. You're like, what? Wait, is that a thing? Dracula with dynamite? When did you're just like, where did this come from? Is very, very strange, right? And so that was really weird. The other thing is, it was very strange as far as these are junior high kids and they're going to stop these monsters, right? Because the reality is you have the Wolfman, Dracula, who else is in there? Creature from the Black Lagoon, Frankenstein's monster, and there's one more in there, but for life. Oh, and the Mummy, right? Like, that's, those are dangerous, super dangerous creatures. So it's really uneven, how they show these kids with very limited resources and a lot of fright and, and not a lot of experience with what they're dealing with, defeating them, and so you could do that if it was a little more like after school special and the monsters were presented as more bumbling, but they're not, right? So this movie definitely had a little bit of this trying to have it all, right? Trying to make them, they didn't want to make it fully a kid's film, but there's a lot of really adult things in here. Like, they have the kids shooting shotguns, and you're like, wait, there's a part where the heavyset kid shoots the creature from the Black Lagoon straight up in his chest and kills him. And you're like, wait, that's really dark, man. There's going to be a lot of therapy after this. And so it's really uneven, right? Now, it is definitely an uneven film. It has real highs and real lows. And the other thing is, I just think the whole vibe, the frequency this movie is actually vibrating at, it's just a tiny bit off. There's a hump, you know what I mean? But it really has great elements to it. And honestly, I would love to see this remade. I would bump the kid group up to high school, and I would make the group of kids truly diverse. You know, boys and girls, all the colors of the rainbow. You know, like I said that in let me say that better. I would make this group diverse. I would make sure that there were boys and girls in the group, and that all people of color were represented, and and that would be better. Like, because this is very 80s, and there's a lot of white kids up in this thing, and so I think it would just be a genuinely better film if there was more diversity in the Monster Squad itself. And I would bump it up to high school or even college, a group of college kids, and then go to town, and you could like do a really good movie out of this. And actually, you know what? I'm going to say I'm so enamored with Orville right now, right? So Universal will never do this. They'll never remake the Monster Squad, right? Because they don't want a one-shot movie or maybe even a trilogy of Monster Squad movies. They want a cinematic universe where Dracula has 3 movies, and Werewolf has 3 movies, and Mummy has 3 movies, and then they have an all-together strain of movies which has 3 movies in it. They want like literally 15, 20 movies out of this. And by the way, oh my gosh, like Marvel Cinematic Universe is on 17 films, which is amazing, and so that's what they want, right? But Orville has shown us, if you just take the types, right? If you just take the types and don't use the names, you can make a really cool product. So I would love to see like Lionsgate come out with a Monster Squad remake. Don't call it Monster Squad. Give me everything that's in Monster Squad. Give me every single one of the monsters, which Universal doesn't. Universal doesn't have any claim on Dracula. Come on, right? And I think that would be awesome. So I highly recommend watching Monster Squad. It's a very, very unique film. It's really good. It's a little bit uneven, and man, I was wonderfully surprised to watch this film this weekend. It was a real blessing, and I really enjoyed seeing it. It's just a really cool, fun movie. Take care.